So hello, I'm AD and we're not in my garage or on my drive. We're in the Twingo. Thought I'd try and do a face-to-face video while driving. I've not done one of these before, thought it'd be a little bit different. Lots of us as always, because I don't normally talk to cameras. But a few of you have contacted me and asked questions on YouTube regarding the reliability of the Twingo. One in particular stating that I've had the car on the road 5-6 months now, and they were looking for an update, asking questions on how reliable it's been. Basically, what's it like to own? And to be fair, it's been like a normal car. For me, I drive it most days, I commute in it to work. I do between 30 and 50 miles depending on which route I take, it hasn't let me down yet. Just trying to think if I've had any major issues with it. Mechanically, nothing. Electrically, I think I've got a water temp sensor that's starting to play up. It's actually doing it right now. I've been driving for a few minutes and it still says it's 13 degrees, which is probably putting the car into some sort of over-fueling warm-up mode. But it happens intermittently, so I definitely need to look at that. But other than that, I've had no real issues with it. It starts up in the morning, drives me to work, and gets me home every day. I've had an issue with suspension components coming loose, but you might have seen that in another video. After Kerberer, actually looking back at some of the pictures, it really does look like the wheels are leaning over when they shouldn't be. So I should have probably felt that a bit better when I was there. And I really didn't even notice for a few weeks afterwards. It wasn't until I had we had a really bad downpour and I was heading down the motorway and the car, as I was changing lanes, felt like it was kicking over. And it was that evening that I checked it and found the hub loose. I actually found the opposite side loose. And I'm a very big advocate of doing everything myself on the car. I know it's done right myself. If it's wrong, it's my fault. If something falls off, it's my fault. So I've done the whole engine conversion and everything on there myself. What I didn't do was the tracking and alignment on the car. So I actually plan to do that myself in a few weeks' time, which I'll try and do a video of. I've never aligned my own car, but a very good neighbour owns a garage and has offered to stick my car on the ramp and lead me to it, so I can set the car up myself. I'll be able to lock everything up myself, and if it comes loose again, it'll be me that's at fault. But yeah, I paid for someone to do the job, and obviously it looks like they never did the bolts up tight enough to hold it. There are set torque values for the shock to hub bolts, and I'm just assuming they just nipped them up and it was never tight enough. A few weeks of driving and smashing it around on a track day just made them loosen off and move a bit. But yeah, both hubs loose. Could have been quite dangerous, really. Well, caused really bad handling anyway. I mean, unless the bolts fell out, the wheels aren't going to fall off the car or anything. But it did mean that the wheels were changing position on camber, which obviously then changes your toe position as well. That's a bit shit, but yeah. So anyway, other than that, oh no, my water temp's up now. Yeah, it's jumped up from 13 to 74 degrees now, 75. So we're just cruising. We're warmed up. But yeah, other than that, no major issues with the actual conversion itself. Mapping was done by, oh, there goes my fuel light. Mapping was done by Chris at EFI Parts. You remap the standard ECU, and because it's on a standard ECU, it does all the standard features, all the standard factory things that a standard car would do. So it warms up in the morning, it drives perfectly fine, poodles around perfectly fine. I really can't fault it. I think one of the major things on any conversion of any car is down to the mapping. And again, I praise Chris EFI Parts a lot. I try and push everyone to him to get their work done. I've never had a problem with him myself. He's done a few of my cars for me. He's done the Twingo for me twice. He did the Twingo when it was a 1.2, and he's done the Twingo now it's the 2 litre, both on the same ECU. His knowledge is like through the roof, and he has a real passion for it. If you want to go somewhere else, that's fine. There are other companies out there that can do similar things, whether it's just remapping your standard car or something a little bit more wild like this. You've got RS Tuning in Leeds. I think Engine Dynamics also do something similar. But I wouldn't do is go to a generic remapper. You know, just get it done properly. Get it done at a specialist, someone who specialises in Renaults, not generic. But yeah, that's my personal view. You do what you like, really. The mapping on this car has made this car. It is what it is because of that mainly. Obviously, having a 2-litre turbocharged engine stuffed in the front made a big difference too. Let's have a little bit of uphill. We're in low boost at the moment, so we've got limited boost pressure. Drives a bit more like a supercharged car or an NA car. The boost comes in low, and then as the revs climb up, the boost increases slowly. We get to about a peak of 8 or 9 pound of boost on just actuator pressure, really. Unlike when we go over boost with the button down here, or we've got the main switch, it'll change it over to full boost or full power all the time, which gives us the full whack of 280 brake, 300 foot-pound of torque in a car that weighs 1,000 kilos. That's 1,000 kilos. I've had it on the scales at a scrapyard, so that's plus or minus 20 kilos according to them. I know some people have probably seen the green Twingo, the RS version. I watched it this morning actually, and he was claiming a weight of 920 kilos. The GT, which is a lighter car than the RS, isn't even 920 kilos factory fresh. You know, you're looking at about 960 kilos for a GT, which this is, from new, with a smaller engine in. The RS has got a slightly bigger engine, but it's still quite small and light. But there's no way that green one was 920 kilos. Plus that green one is never seen anymore. Basically, it just keeps blowing up. I don't know what's gone on with that. It would have been nice to see it around, actually. You know, one of a few that have got big engine swaps. You got mine, which is this one. Louis, he's got a black GT with a Megane 225 engine in there. You've got Charlie with his mental supercharged one, 323 horsepower, screaming supercharged 197 conversion, and then there's Neil's, which has got a 200 Beanie Sport 200 conversion, which is also absolutely rapid. There's quite a few Twingos now with decent engine swaps in them. Everyone's built theirs for different things. Neil's and Charlie's is pretty much a full-blown sprint track car. I think Neil's is a road-going track toy. You know, he uses it for track days and stuff. Louis, I think, is just like a road car. And then mine, same as a road car. I built mine literally to commute in because I wanted something to do and I was bored. So it's not hardcore like the other guys. It's on soft suspension. It's retained all the front end interior. We have put RS 133 seats in, just to give it a little bit more support. The old GT seat's quite flat. It's like trying to drive on a park bench. Anyway, back to some questions. I'm just rambling on, really. So I've been asked, basically, how's the conversion? The conversion's great. I cannot fault it. I love this car. I return nearly 40 to the gallon. Just cruising. There's a squirrel running around on the road. It's going to be roadkill soon. Yeah, 40 miles to the gallon out of it on a light cruise. You can really bring that down into the 20s if you want. It's not hard to do so. The car will do in excess of 140 plus mile an hour. Not that I've tried it. It'd be nice to get to a top speed event, but I've been looking into it, and no one does a tyre speed rated enough for the car's gearing in the size that I use. I do need to look into it a bit more. Now, I think the tyres on there at the moment are rated to 150, 155 mile an hour. This car's geared for nearly 170, and I don't think it'd have too much trouble getting to the 155, 160, just based on how it goes on the road. With that, the gearing's quite nice. First and second, you'll get 60 in second. You actually get over 60 in second just. Third will take you to nearly 95, 98 mile an hour. Fourth will take you to over 130 if you really want to drag it out. And then you got fifth. It's only a 5-speed. If you haven't seen my previous videos on how I built it, I'll give you a quick rundown. Basically, I built it with a Megane or a Laguna GT 205 engine, 225 engine. the 230 engine and the R26, they're all slightly different. The only real difference I can find is the exhaust camshaft after looking at all the parts. But yeah, the Laguna GT 205 engine is a cheaper variant because, you know, everyone wants to buy a Megane engine. But the Laguna GT 205 engine gets overlooked. Exactly the same turbo, same injectors, same internals, same everything really. It's just a detuned version for a Laguna. Then you've got the Megane engines, which you can obviously swap in. They can be found if you wanted to do it. For myself, I wanted to fit this into the car without making any major modifications. So I actually re-drilled the block to accept a 5-speed gearbox. And then I fitted a diesel gearbox from a Renault Modus, I think, or 1.5 DCI. The gearbox, I was asked this question, the gearbox at the moment is still holding fine. I've done sprint day in it, I've kicked its head in for the last 6 months, I've driven it every day. It's probably due an oil change. I should probably pull the oil out just to double check that everything's okay in there. But yeah, the gearbox is still holding up fine. So yeah, re-drilled the block to accept the 5-speed gearbox. You fit a 172 sump, you fit, which allows you to then align the gearbox to the block nicely. 172 flywheel. It's a hydraulic clutched gearbox, so I used a Twingo RS133 cover plate, and then it's got a CG Motorsport dual friction clutch plate in there, friction plate in there, which is, they call it a hybrid dual friction, I think. It's got like a 5-puck on one side and a organic on the opposite, so it's still not too heavy or anything. Plus it's been hydraulic clutched, it's not heavy at all anyway, and that is still holding up 300 foot-pound of torque. So a standard, it's actually a second-hand Twingo 133 RS clutch cover, it's holding fine. Yeah, so that all fits into the chassis perfectly fine, same as it would in a Clio. No chassis modifications needed. The only thing that I really made was a drive shaft, which is a combination of a few different parts. If you want to actually check it out, if you go to turborenault.co.uk, I've got a build thread on there. It's getting a bit long now, it's about 60 plus pages. I've pretty much documented absolutely everything in there. So if there's anything you want to know, have a look through there first before bashing me the messages. I'm happy to help, but I do actually get quite a lot of messages regarding how to convert things, what's needed, how do I make this part, what list of parts I need. It's all in the thread. Just have a read. The site's free to use. Just get on there, have a look around, post some pictures up of your own cars as well. It'd be good to see those. Yeah, so other than that, it's pretty much a factory fit into the bay. I built it to be a factory-esque car. Renault actually did build one of these back in Germany early on, but didn't get approval to make it or something. In that thread, there's also a link to that document. And they built it in a GT chassis with a 225 engine. Not sure whether they used a 6-speed box. That's quite close. You need to manipulate the chassis rail a little bit for that. But yeah, it's great. I can't fault it. It's a factory car. It's 280 brake, 300 foot-pound of torque, 1,000 kilo car, 280 brake per ton. For reference, that puts it, an E92 M3 is 250 brake per ton. A 996 turbo Porsche is 280 brake per ton. Early R35 GTR is 280 brake per ton. I've had to play with a few things on the road. Not much actually wants to play because, you know, you're driving around in a Twingo, it looks like your grand's driving it. It'll undercut a new S4 at a high speed. It'll really run and try to undertake the, what do they call it? It's not an E63, an S63 AMG with the twin turbo V8 in it. The owner of that was quite impressed. Third and fourth and fifth in this car is just epic. The gearing makes really good use of the power that it's got. So though it doesn't sound like it's got a lot of power, you know, 280 brake per ton isn't exactly massive. It's really got some legs. Works really well. I'm very surprised. I'm very chuffed I did it with the diesel box as well, after looking at the ratios. If I put this on a petrol box, it'd just be digging holes in the floor all day long. You know, like a little Jack Russell trying to scrabble for grip, and it does that anyway. But we're on a long ratio box. If there's any shorter, it'd just be shit. So you want something that's a bit usable. Like I said, I built it as a road car. I didn't build it to go around tracks, though it will. I didn't really build it to go drag racing, but it should. I built it to daily. I wanted it as a daily car. So that's what we've got here. I mean, weight reduction wise, it's only the back end that's out. There's nothing major done to it. We're on standard seats. We've got all the carpet in. We haven't got AC, I lost that in the conversion. Could have probably made it work, but it wasn't really of an interest to me. Other than that, it's a real factory car. I've still got the standard head unit in here, the standard speakers in here. They work perfectly fine. Yeah, it's a road car. You could chuck a couple of bucket seats in this and take it track days and stuff. It'd be nice to have a little bit more grip, so some stickier tyres. I run, what do they call them? Michelin Pilot Sport 3s. You know, nothing overly aggressive or grippy. Again, I do a decent amount of mileage in here. If I was running on 888s or something like AR1s, you know, I'd just chew them up all day long, and I've got no real need for them. But the car goes really well. It's done, yeah, 6 months in, absolutely epic. I can't fault it. I really like the car, actually. At first, when I first had it, it was a bit crap, to be honest. I didn't really gel with the car much, and yeah, the more I drive it, the more I enjoy it. So I'm not sure if you can see there, the steering wheel's on the piss still. It's on the one because the tracking's slightly out since the whole hub incident. So I'm waiting for a new wheel bearing for the right hand side. Once that's here, I'll get that pressed in, and then I'll do a video on, hopefully, if I can do, I'll do a video on how to align it, or just me aligning the car. Like I say, one more thing that I've done myself, excuse me, one more thing that I would have done myself, and I can't blame anyone else for. Alright, set traffic lights, joy. It looks like we got a clear run. Let's give it some full boost. I'll go full boost. We're not going to launch it off the line now. But yeah, so I think I covered the questions I was asked by you guys. I hope it covers some things for you. Like I said, if you want to build one yourself, it's not hard. It's really not hard. You can do it with a pile of parts, and if you're handy with a spanner, you can do it. It's not that involved. And you can do it with near enough all factory parts. So if anything breaks, you can just go to a breaker's yard, or you go to Euro Car Parts or Renault and pick up the replacement bits easy enough. Right, so we're 35 mile an hour in seconds. Let's go. Bone dry outside. Forget how fast this goes. Didn't break the speed limit, honestly. Yeah, it's a bit of a handful. Wouldn't mind putting a rear anti-roll bar on there. Since going to the track day, it gets a little bit rolly. I want to stiffen it up in the corners a little bit, but I don't want to sacrifice the stiffness on the road. I like it to be quite compliant. You know, I don't want to be smashing my teeth out every time I drive the thing. I don't think I could buy anything at all that'd be as fast as this for the money. I mean, you could get a motorbike. I haven't got a motorbike license, so that's ain't going to work for me. But you know, where else are you going to get something silly like a Twingo that's AMG quick? For the money it costs to build one of these, you know, it's modifying's the way forward. I get flashed by a Clear Sport. Hey, buddy. Hey, mate. Don't know if you can see him there. 1721 Torinis. Yeah, for the price of this conversion and what it costs to do it yourself, I mean, if you went somewhere else to get it done, obviously it's going to cost you more in labour plus parts. But if you're handy with a spanner and you want to do it yourself, literally, you couldn't buy anything as quick as this, or buy anything. Yeah, you couldn't buy anything for the price of converting one of these or a Clio to this engine setup that'd be as fast. I mean, you might get better handling ones. It depends what you want from a car. Like I say, it's a road car for me, so I want something that goes quick in a straight line, handles okay. You want a dedicated track car, 172 on its own, just standard's going to be pretty, like standard engine, but all the suspension mods is going to be loads better. You're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of it if doing track days is your thing. But for what I built it for, it's perfect. Can't knock it at all. But yeah, so the Twingo's great. 6 months on, perfect. Lots of waffling on. Not sure what else to say really. Thanks for watching the channel, and if you could subscribe, that'd be great. You know, we've got to do this YouTube thing where you know, subscribe. If I want to get anything from it, you have to have lots and lots of subscribers. I don't. I only waffle on here because it's getting easier to do than write it all down all the time. So yeah, if you could like, click and subscribe. Is that what I say? Like, click and subscribe. Or click like and subscribe. Click like and subscribe? Yeah, click like and subscribe if you want to see me doing silly things in the Twingo. I do want to get a video together soon. I'm going to try and get a bunch of cars together at some point and have a little bit of fun and just record a few runs and stuff. So that should be coming soon, along with the alignment video soon. Hopefully bring you a little bit more content. It's pretty much the end of the season for everything. I still want to get it drag racing, but we're probably looking at earlier next year now. And someone's blocked my driveway. Twats. So yeah, there's the car. Stop it there.